It's the most wonderful time of the year. Or is it? Let's do it. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Yesterday, we talked my 10 favorite movies of the year, and we have plenty more lists to come. We have TV lists this next week, but right now, we're still on the movie topic, and we unfortunately have to talk about the worst. And this isn't me saying, well, the filmmaker should never make a movie again. Well, these are the worst actors we've ever seen. Some of these films, I really love the talent involved, but I have to be honest and give you all my personal opinion, and these are the 10 films that I just, let's just say they didn't hit me in maybe the way that they intended to. Now, I do have some honorable mentions. There are a few movies that you haven't heard of on my honorable mentions, and since last year, someone said, hey, Austin, man, why are you talking about a bunch of movies we've never heard of? Well, I mean, I gotta be honest. I gotta give you guys the worst movies I've seen. But for this honorable mentions portion, we can talk about some of the notable movies that didn't work for me. Movies like Doolittle. Robert Downey Jr. tried. The movie around him, I didn't necessarily love the direction. Monster Hunter. It's just a big old mess. The Grudge, a movie that people actually got to see in theaters earlier in the year. And unfortunately, so did I. American Pie, Girls Rules, which wasn't a Netflix original movie, but was on Netflix, got popular on Netflix, and did not add anything to the franchise. And then I could throw in all of the movies on my worst Netflix movies of the year list, because most of them will not crack this list, but if you saw that video, you know that I wasn't a big fan. Now, we have 2 of those movies on this list, and since I've already talked about them, we'll kind of move a bit quicker than normal. Coming in at number 10 is Desperados, and I talked about the fact that the plot of this film is completely ridiculous in my other video, and then you have just unlikable characters. This girl going on this long trip to delete this email that she sent to her boyfriend that she doesn't want him to read. Somehow she has a bunch of money, even though she just lost her job, to go on this trip, and the hijinks, they were so ridiculous, not funny, and I just thought this movie was a complete mess. At number 9, my number 1 least favorite Netflix movie of the year, The Kissing Booth 2. I'm just not a fan of this franchise, but at least the first movie had some charm. This film, the character decisions here are ridiculous. There are like 3 to 4 endings. The movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It's sending some mixed messages, and there's just not much in terms of the writing. Let's throw every little cliche that we've seen in these coming-of-age rom-coms. It has the title The Kissing Booth, so fans of the first, they're going to come back, but oh boy, this sequel did not work for me at all. Let's get into some movies that we haven't talked about yet. Brahms The Boy 2. Now, we know The Boy, which is a film that I think has its fans, right? I think there's a fan base there that was going to come and support this movie no matter what, and I was pretty excited for it because I said, oh, this could be really creepy. You have the doll, you have a semi-interesting plot, a family moving into this mansion, and their young son making friends with this lifelike doll. Yeah, that's a formula for success for a lower-budgeted horror film. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a bit of a mess. This film takes the idea of a jump scare and a cliche from every horror movie you've ever seen and just kind of injects it throughout, and the story progression just got to the point I'm not interested in this anymore. I have stopped being entertained, and at that point, there were about 40 minutes left in the movie, and it just did not quite work for me. These are the worst to talk about on the bad list because you always want these lower-budgeted horror movies to be good, and we had a few of those this year. There were some huge horror surprises. Brahms The Boy 2 was not one of them. And here's another one. This one's called The Turning, and this is even more unfortunate because this actually has a stacked cast if you look at it. Mackenzie Davis, who has been crushing it in Hollywood. Finn Wolfhard, who I'm a big fan of. Brooklyn Prince, The Florida Project. Come on, please don't mess this up. It's just a poorly directed horror film. You see all of the twists and turns coming except for one, and that twist ends up being one of the most ridiculous twists of the entire year. A young woman quits her teaching job to be a tutor for a wealthy young heiress who witnessed her parents' tragic death. But when she arrives, weird things start happening, and there is something more going on here. All right, nice premise. Story progression, not the best. The story itself, kind of bad. And then you have the look of the movie, which, kind of worked for me at first, but it kept getting more dull, and it's just dim, and the lighting at times was really off, and the turning, I I didn't have a good time with it at all. And you add in those jump scares that seemed a bit lazy. Unfortunately, nope. Boy, do I want to call The Jesus Rolls a sequel to The Big Lebowski, because The Big Lebowski is awesome. It's so good, directed by the Coen brothers. This one is directed by John Turturro, who plays the title character in Jesus, and we know him from The Big Lebowski. This movie just made me feel icky. It made me feel icky. It looks like a low-budget, kind of a student film. But you have kind of everything you need to make for a good movie. John Hamm, Christopher Walken, Bobby Cannavale, John Turturro. What happened here? What happened? It's not funny. It tries to be funny. The dialogue is awkward, and there's so many uncomfortable scenes where they're joking about stuff that's just not funny. And to give us something that's in the same universe as The Big Lebowski, but be this bad, the Jesus Rolls, I mean, it almost offended me. And the part that sucks the most is I'm a fan of John Turturro. I like him quite a bit. Man. You knew it would be on this list. Fantasy Island. Welcome to Fantasy Island. Please leave if you're watching the movie. This is Blumhouse, and we love Blumhouse. Michael Pena, I saw that. I saw a pretty solid cast, and we know they're a studio that's a bit hit or miss, but when they hit, like The Invisible Man, well, you saw that was in my top 10 best. This is all about a group of contest winners who arrive at an island hotel to live out their dreams. But of course, there are going to be unexpected consequences, and it turns out they're not necessarily dreams, they're more nightmares. This is directed by Jeff Wadlow, who has given us a couple of misfires in the past, but I thought this was so interesting, of course, based on the television show, and I think they just announced that they're rebooting that into a new television show. That is so interesting for me. How do you mess this movie up? How do you mess this movie up? Fantasy Island was a huge bust. A huge bust. The pacing is terrible. It is a poorly written script. I don't understand some of the character decisions. One character in particular, Lucy Hale's character, I'm just like, not a fan. And Fantasy Island, while the idea, the concept is great, but we've seen that concept executed in a good way with the TV show. So the fact that they messed it up means it's on this list. Of course, in the year of a pandemic, we have to get a movie related to the exact same pandemic, produced by Michael Bay. And that didn't really bother me, right? As long as it's not in bad taste. Sure, do what you want, just make the movie entertaining. No, it's not entertaining. Songbird was a complete mess. And the thing is, it doesn't even focus on what it tells us it's going to focus on. It just gives us this random story that happens in this universe, and it's not entertaining, and the characters are making dumb decisions and doing things. It's like, man, what are you doing? I liked it for Bradley Whitford's crazy performance, and I like that they tried to do something, but even then, it's like every subplot is a misfire. There are so many random moments. You have a great cast. Sophia Carson, Craig Robinson, Alexandra Daddario, yet you somehow include them all into a movie that just, it feels like they did it just to do it without writing a full script. It's like they did it in 5 hours. You guys saw it. If you didn't see it, don't see it. So, if you would have told me, Austin, you're going to have a Kenneth Branagh directed movie on your top 10 worst list, I would have said, come on. Artemis Fowl isn't going to be that bad. And yet, here we are. I feel so bad for some people involved with this movie. Honestly, the main, Artemis Ferdius Shaw is the actor's name. I can't put it all on his shoulders. Although he wasn't great, granted, I believe it's his first movie. He's trying very hard. He was in a big budgeted movie, and he's going to be able to tell his kids that when he gets older, and that's awesome. But you've got to have someone a little bit more compelling, a little bit more captivating, and then the movie surrounding that is a mess. It's a big budgeted, chaotic, CGI-filled mess that's not even entertaining for kids. And unfortunately, Artemis Fowl, like even my younger cousins who watch this movie, they're all like, no, it's not that good. When they know, here's a movie that I joked about yesterday, putting on my best list. It's 365 Days or 365 D&I. It's not a Netflix original film, but it became popular through Netflix, and I think there were some people TikToking about it or something like that, so I watched it. If you go on my channel, you will find that 365 DNI not only is my #1 video, but my top 2 videos on my channel of all time are talking about this film because the interest, as you can see, was there maybe more so than any other movie this year. Now, why is that, right? Well, we saw the 50 Shades franchise get some similar interest because you've got some hot and sexy scenes, right? So we want to get all, but they're not. But there's no chemistry between the characters and this plot. What is this plot? When you can't buy the chemistry in a movie that is supposed to give us that, and a lot of people are watching the movie just for that, and that's not why I watch a movie. I need a competent plot and characters. But for those that do, fine, right? But because there's no connection there, and because the writing's so poor and the one-liners and the dialogue, I just couldn't respond to any of it. Not a second of this film worked for me. It looks okay. It's shot fairly competently. I like the color correction at times, but substance-wise, for me, and again, this is personal, there was nothing in 365 days. So, #2. But #1, oh boy, I don't even think I reviewed this. I think I saw it a little bit later. It came out all the way back in January of last year. From the director of The Haunting of Sharon Tate comes the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. Now, there are quite a few movies that I didn't see this year, right? And I even stayed away from some of the ones that people were like, that's really bad. But even if I wouldn't have seen this movie, I would have made an effort after what I heard about it and the 2 clips that I saw online before I saw this movie. And then I saw the film way back when, early on this year, and I gave it the first 0% that I've given a movie in years. And one of the only 0%. See, I just don't do things like that. There's always something redeeming in a film. Something. One performance, one moment, one scene, one idea. There is nothing redeeming about this film in my eyes. I appreciate the actors for trying. That's all I can give it. This has to be some of the worst line delivery, the worst writing, the most incompetently made film that I've seen in quite a while. There is nothing to the characters other than the fact that you know they exist in real life. I mean, but you look at a movie like The Room, at least The Room has some fun with itself. And it's fun to go back and rewatch. Like, I will rewatch The Room. Yes, it's bad, but it's so bad that it's good, right? This movie is not so bad that it's good. This movie is so bad that it goes beyond being good, and then it even goes beyond being so bad that it's bad. So what is this movie? What is this movie? What is the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson? If you have the answer, please let me know. Google. They cannot help. So if you can help me, please help. Well, we did it. We're not done yet. We still have TV shows to talk about and more Netflix series. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Next week, we have all of those things most anticipated for next year. If you missed my best lists, we've done Netflix. We did Honorable Mentions, Top 10. They are all on a playlist. I will link that down below. Hey, I appreciate you guys big time for watching my videos and just supporting me the entire year. Whether it's a thumbs up or a comment, all of those things mean the absolute world to me. You're truly the best. Stay tuned. Next week's going to be great. And we also have Cobra Kai. That review is on its way. I'll see you soon.